Oil just swung almost $40 in a single day, crashing from nearly 120 a barrel right back down to the mid-80s, while everyone was screaming 200 per barrel in the next few days. But why has it crashed? The answer is simple: it's manipulation. My name's Nick. I've been a professional investor and unprofessional trader for 24 years. Today we need to talk about why oil is dumping despite a historic supply shock and uncover what is really happening behind the scenes. Before I start, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not an inducement to buy or sell any asset, and most importantly, do not take financial advice from some random dude on YouTube. Let's figure this out together. So let's talk about exactly why oil is dumping. And this really comes down to market manipulation. If you turn on the news right now, the narrative is perfectly logical. Operation Epic Fury, the Iran war, just shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That is a narrow waterway where 20% of the world's oil flows through. Iraq's oil output has collapsed by 70%, and Bahrain just declared force majeure. It is the biggest supply disruption in history, twice the size of the Suez Crisis. So they push out this narrative throughout the media, and retail traders panic buy. They tell you that oil is guaranteed as a safe haven investment during the war. Then you go all in at $80, $90, $100, or even higher than that. They tell you that it's for sure going to hit 200 a barrel. Then they rug you and it dumps to $85 by the end of the day. So now your money is their money. Congratulations. But the catch is, the smart money had already bought before this war even started. And I know that's a bold claim with zero proof, so let me prove it. It's easy to prove. Look at this chart of actual oil prices. Back in January, WTI crude was sitting at $56 a barrel. Then by February 27th, the day before the war officially broke out, it was already at 67. Oil was up nearly 20% for the year before a single bomb even dropped. More than half of this massive 55% move from January lows happened in anticipation of the conflict. The smart money was already positioned. Now retail is piling in at the top and the spike is getting sold. If we do analysis of every major recent conflict in the Middle East for the last 20 years, so not that recent, it shows that oil always pumps on the rumor and dumps on the reality. This data is from my site. It's basically showing the average move of oil during the Middle Eastern wars. Pumps for the first few days, then a brutal dump. Is this the start of the dump? Who knows? It could be though. During the 2003 Iraq war, concerns over supply drove a massive surge in prices. But the moment the US released the strategic petroleum reserves, and remember this because it's important, prices fell straight back down. So the truth is right there in the data. War produces a massive pump and then a devastating dump. I mentioned this exact setup in my last video on this subject on this channel, but nobody wants to listen because when FOMO kicks in, people just want to jump into the trade, right? But here's the bigger problem. The insiders knew exactly when this was going to happen. While retail was busy watching the news, traders on prediction markets were wagering $1 billion on every aspect of this conflict. Not one trader doing $1 billion, but overall $1 billion. One user named Maggie Mayman or something like that placed a $32,000 bet just hours before the strikes began. So literally hours before the bombs dropped, he placed a big bet. The Polymarket odds at the time said there was only a 17% chance of a strike happening on that day, but he correctly predicted the exact start date down to a few hours and walked away with $553,000. Tell me that's not an insider, allegedly. He just magically guessed the exact hour the US military was going to strike. But now the geopolitical insiders have joined the game, and now the institutional vultures are having a field day picking at retail corpses, because while retail was buying oil at $119 this morning, the real players were selling the news. President Trump just came out today and said the war is pretty much complete. Anyway, he noted that they are very far ahead of the original 4 to 5 week estimate. He's even floating the idea of the US taking over the Strait of Hormuz to force traffic open. And right on cue, the G7 energy ministries are holding an emergency meeting tomorrow to coordinate a massive release of global oil reserves because, these countries that keep oil in reserve in case of crises just like this. US Energy Secretary Chris Wright just reminded everyone that the Strategic Petroleum Reserve has 400 million barrels ready to deploy. The SPR is only 58% full, but that is more than enough to crush the dreams of retail traders. They are going to flood the market with paper and physical oil. The fear premium is vanishing, the reserves are opening, and the manipulators are cashing out. And I bet by tomorrow we'll see reports on Polymarket of bettors making bets for millions of dollars hours before Trump started saying that the war was close to an end. Now, is the war ending? Guys, I wouldn't hold my breath. Who knows? But that doesn't really matter. All I know is that retail got fleeced yet again. I hope you made it out okay from this one though. If you want to see the next scam Wall Street is cooking up right now, check out my main channel video from earlier today. I'll see you in the next one.